you wonder, like, how many people did Paul preach the gospel to? Like, I'm sure there's a number. God knows it. So, like, what is that number? How many people did Jesus proclaim the gospel to? There's a number. You and I have reached more people directly than Jesus Christ did.
Scary.
At least in his 3-year ministry directly.
Frightening, but probably true. Yeah.
And I wonder if that's kind of given us a false sense of how effective we ought to be. In other words, there might be someone watching this and they're like, I don't have social media and I just chat with the people in my parish. That's good.
More than good.
More than good. And I wonder if sometimes we think, well, I'm not doing enough because really I should have 100,000 subscribers. And do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I do. It's a poison.
And like we talk about the negative effects of the 24-hour news feed. And now we have that in the church as a 24-hour news feed on all these different things. And it's almost like we're neglecting the good of our relationship with Christ and our neighbors and parishioners for something seemingly more important. It's like the father who doesn't engage with his children or wife while she's serving them because he's in the important, he's reading the newspaper, doing something much more important, right? He's got his arms around the world, but he hasn't looked at his son today. And it can feel more important to know what's happening than to get down on the level with my kid and wrestle him. And I wonder if in some weird sense in the church, it's kind of like that too.
I think there's a danger of it. I don't know that I would put it out of proportion. I think in our world, the danger is real. And there's a phrase, again, I'm so terrible with attribution, but it was, have we light up the streets and our house kept dark? Have we lit all the street lamps, but then left our house in the dark? So in other words, it's a dual vocation, but there's still a hierarchy. There's still a sacred order. And the sacred order is the first vocation is our wife.
Yeah.
Right? And then our kids. That's the one that we'll be measured on. And then some of us are called to do some extra public ministry and work within a certain sphere and to do that and to stay in our lane. But if we get confused in thinking that is evangelism, that the public work that we do is evangelism, that's when we start the measuring and the numbers you were talking about, the impact. And there's some people that are doing, I've met them, that are doing what I consider much more valuable work at the parish level and their local ministries than some of this national work that I do, these big conferences, and everybody's, oh my gosh, I want to be just like you. I want to go I want to speak, I want to be and 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it would have been like, hey, let me show you what you can, Now I'm like, no, you don't. I was like, if God's calling you this, pray, that he takes it away, but you'll do his will. Because it has been, such a painful, and we've talked a little bit about this, just the, balancing or the, the prioritizing of, supporting our families with something we know we've been called to do, and yet making sure that our first apostolate, our wives and our kids are
front and center
and honored.
Could you tell me a time in your marriage where that, like maybe even in ministry, where there have been times where you put ministry ahead of your family and how you recognize and what you did?
Oh my gosh, I'm still reaping the wounds from that. And there's still some disorder there, but I did remember at the World Meeting of Families, my panel talk was on work-family balance, right? And I was just rolling my eyes like...
Especially when you told your wife.
Exactly. Not even. It was like one of those witness stories like, first of all, there's no such thing as balance. Let's just get rid of that paradigm, right? There is no balance. This is Damon's opinion, right? That balance is sort of the way we described the center of mass. And sometimes we tip over to this side like we're riding the bike, so we adjust to come back. And then we might go too far on this side, and then we adjust to go back. But it's dynamic, right? And if we didn't have this center of mass, if we didn't have that North Star, then we wouldn't know when we're off course. But to say that I'm always on course or that I'm perfectly balanced is an illusion, right? So we need to expect to be off balance,
I like it,
but then be grateful to know in what direction are we out of balance. So in my marriage, it was the first 10 years. Well, again, it took a little bit about it in the beginning, right? So I came out of a corporate environment, making $250,000 a year. I mean, prestige, big company, masters, great schools. It was an identity. It just creeped into this whole identity. So when I came full time, I had sold my ownership of this engineering company, had a big chunk of money, and didn't know how to manage money. We had, I think, we're pregnant with our third or fourth daughter at the time, right? So family's growing, young, and I'm still have this whole American Northeast, I deserves, the deserves, just, I got this level of income, I deserve this kind of car, I deserve this house to build this house, I deserve all of that. And that was right in the time where I sold it and went into full-time ministry. So I had no models, no expectation, just thinking, I'll start another company. It's like starting any company. I know how to start companies. I've done secular, I've done this, starting a company. And the whole heart change of what it means to be in ministry. And it's all the click words. It's all the words that actually mean something when you're doing it. Yep. Like a real poverty, a spirit of poverty. Not financial poverty, but of comfortable in the lack, of checking your expectations to see, do I have some deserves here in my heart that are making me envious of somebody else's watch or car or, lifestyle? Do I still think that I deserve a certain lifestyle? I mean, that's the real spirit of poverty. And I spent this thinking, well, I'll just build another ministry and business, and here's the revenue I need. I need to support the family, and boom, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. So I took that same out of order corporate build and applied it to the ministry. I literally built a basement in my house that was basically an office. It was an entertainment area. It's a place I could bring couples in, NFP, I could do blah, 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 but no kids. Because they're gonna mess, they're gonna leave popcorn over here. Totally. They're gonna make noise. So when I close this door, these little kids are supposed to know to tiptoe around the house because daddy's downstairs doing God's work.
Yes, you shut up.
You shut up, right? And the stuff, it was just this whole, I'm gonna revolutionize this. All these people that go into ministry have no idea how to run business, so I'm gonna come in with my business acumen and I'm gonna show them how to do it. And what had happened then, things started to grow. So as the girls started to get older, they started to see the recognition. They started to see the work I was doing. They started to, understand the people that were being impacted by the theology of the body and about natural family planning and these real things. And they'd stop in the supermarket. Thank you guys so much for your talk. It was, and they goes, who was that, Daddy? I said, don't worry about it. And they actually get used to it.
Yeah.
So what it did is it caused this great rift in their hearts.
Really?
That Daddy was really out doing other stuff. And that I miss him, but I can't really say anything because he's out doing such good stuff. I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Now, and all this didn't come out until 14 years later. This is 2015 when my older girls now and just being able to share.
Well, because they're probably at an age where they can articulate it.
Exactly.
Like as kids, they couldn't.
Exactly. But now articulating the wound of that lack of those years of me putting so much, whether it's traveling. There was a year I did something like 110 talks in a year. I mean, it was,
oh my goodness,
it was awful. But then part of it was I had to do that because I had a mortgage. I had, I was out hustling.
Out of a corporate job.
Exactly. People know who I am. I got to get my name out there. I got this talk. I'll just add another one on it.
Don't you understand?
Exactly. There's all that whole out of balance, out of order, but now for God. So now it puts this conflict with them about, but you weren't here for this. When you do come home, you're tired. I'm grumpy. No, I don't feel like this. And why is the house a mess?
Yeah.
I'm out doing all this and this, all that creeps in.
Yeah.
And that was the first 10, 12 years in ministry. And it made me physically sick. It made there are wounds in at least two of my daughters now that we're still dealing with right now. So this is very personal.
God bless you for your vulnerability. That's tough to face.
Well, it's reality, right? And it would be dishonest to work so intimately with couples and families.
Yeah.
And to shield somehow.
No, that's
from
good.
So there's something I believe, Matt. I believe in my heart that the mistakes, the hurt that I've had to Melanie and to the girls and all these, and whatever we're dealing with in our family, whatever it is, this is our mess. But God is in this. I really believe this. He's in this, and He wants us not to fix it so that we can be good Christians. He wants us to be able to take the mess, the dung, and to give it back to Him.
Yo, thanks for watching. You can watch the entire episode on YouTube if you want. You can listen to it at The Matt Fradd Show by subscribing on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And feel free to support me, patreon.com/MattFradd.